What is up, guys, and welcome to another video from the Soul Path Collective. Today's video is called Why America Manufactures Simps, the Spiritual Collapse of the Modern Man. So, this has been a topic that's been trending, I think, for some time now. I think America's always had simps, but I think the level and the amount of simping that's been going on is just astronomical. I think OnlyFans released their revenue statement, like their annual report, and I think it was like Americans spent over $6 billion on OnlyFans. Like I was like, you niggas spent $6 billion to see some titties? We gotta break this down. All right. Section one: the rise of the simp economy. Okay. Simping is a symptom of a spiritually bankrupt culture. The word simp has become part of our cultural vernacular. It's a quick insult thrown at men who appear too eager to please, too submissive, too emotionally dependent. But strip away the slang, and what you're left with isn't a meme or a moment of mockery. You're left with a symptom, a reflection of something that's far deeper: the spiritual bankruptcy of modern masculinity. And at its root, the simp is not just a man who worships women, he's a man who's forgotten how to worship himself. Not from ego, but from reverence from the divine spark within him. He is a man whose inner temple has been hollowed out by culture, by economics, and by a constant flood of dopamine designed to replace genuine intimacy with illusion. He believes that love, validation, and meaning exist somewhere outside of himself, that it's to be chased, earned, and purchased or performed for. So he becomes, in energetic terms, a consumer of attention rather than a creator of energy. And this is not accidental. In the United States, this mindset has been systemically industrialized. Okay. America, perhaps more than any other nation, has perfected the art of monetizing emptiness. We've built trillion-dollar industries on the backs of unmet needs, sex without connection, and fame without intimacy, pleasure without purpose. The same system that once taught men to build factories, railroads, and schools, etc., now teaches them to build profiles. The masculine instinct to create, conquer, and construct has been redirected into virtual loops of validation. Instead of building a kingdom, men now build followers. Instead of mastering their inner world, they create and they curate their digital persona. And I think to an extent, we all kind of have to participate in this game to an extent. It's just how much do you play that I think separates everybody else. So it's not just a cultural decay, this is energetic inversion. The masculine current, which in its healthy form is active and directed and life giving, has been rerouted into passive consumption. What once built civilizations now scrolls for stimulation, and what once protected the tribe just refreshes for notifications. This is the algorithm of emptiness. Look closely at the architecture of the modern attention economy. Every major platform, dating apps, social media, porn sites, every single platform operates on a single neurological formula: stimulate, drain, repeat. Dopamine hits reward the chase, emotional release gives temporary relief, and then comes the crash, the longing, the emptiness, and that need for another fix, right? From a neurological and neurobiological perspective, it's actually an addiction. From a metaphysical perspective, this is energetic harvesting. Each time a man trades presence for distraction, he leaks life force prana. Each click, each swipe, each gesture is a micro withdrawal from his sacred bank account, right? Which is his own vitality. This is why the simp economy is not only psychological, it's deeply spiritual. And it's not just men losing focus, it's humanity losing coherence. It's uh, disembodiment as the root disease. And beneath the memes, the mockery, the lies, the true pathology is disembodiment. Men are taught to live in their heads and to intellectualize feelings and to fear stillness and to equate vulnerability with weakness. The result is a body, particularly the second energy body, the D2 body, that is completely cut off from sensation. When a man is disconnected from his body, he can't feel his power. And when he can't feel his power, he starts to chase symbols of it: status, sex, money, dominance, anything that will momentarily trick his nervous system into remembering what it feels like to be alive. But that memory fades and the cycle soon repeats itself. The external world becomes the new God, and he prays not in temples, but in timelines. So he seeks confession, not with the priests, but with followers, and he mistakes visibility for value. This is an economy of perpetual longing. And the true tragedy of the simp economy is not built on lust, but it's built on longing, this hunger for connection, for approval, for something sacred in a world that feels increasingly hollow. When society teaches men to outsource meaning and to chase pleasure instead of presence, it doesn't just create weak men, it creates a marketplace of spiritual orphans, people searching for a home in things that were never designed to love them back. So when we say America manufactures simps, what we're saying is that America manufactures men who have forgotten how to generate inner fulfillment. And when enough men forget how to generate, entire civilizations start to consume themselves. The simp economy isn't just about dating culture. It's not just about loneliness or attention seeking. It's the inevitable byproduct of a masculine archetype severed from source. A civilization where desire has replaced devotion, where the sacred act of giving has been replaced by the endless appetite of getting. And the only way to collapse this system is not through shame or judgment, but through energetic re embodiment. For men to return to the temple within and to remember that love is not something that you earn, it's something that you emanate. And the power is not something you perform, it's something that you become, right? Section 2, energetics of collapse, the dysregulated D2 body. So I'm going to link out another video explaining, what the 12 dimensions are and how each one of them represents a bandwidth of frequency and consciousness. The D2 body, your second chakra located in your lower abdomen, that's where that is. Typically, it's orange, and people associate it with courage and vitality. The second dimensional body, it's often called the D2 field, the sacral chakra, is where the physical and the metaphysical meet. It governs movement, emotions, creativity, sexuality, and it's the place in the human energy field where the instinct to survive becomes the desire to live. In a healthy human, this center acts like a gyroscope for emotional reality. It allows energy to flow through the body as a sensation rather than a story. A balanced D2 gives a man the ability to feel deeply without drowning in feeling, to experience pleasure without losing discipline, and to create without chaos, and to love without losing himself. The bridge between instinct and creation. That's what the D2 body is. Energetically, D1, the root, is the survival field. It anchors your life force into the earth plane. D3, the solar plexus, is willpower and the seat of identity and direction. D2 is the bridge that connects those two. It translates primal life force into emotion and emotion into expression. When this bridge is open and coherent, creativity flows upwards and emotion becomes inspiration. When it's blocked or chaotic, that energy spirals downwards into addiction, neediness, or emotional volatility. In this sense, the D2 body is not just a chakra, it's a translator of consciousness, and it's how the infinite communicates through the flesh, right? This is the neurobiological mirror. In neuroscience, this energetic anatomy corresponds almost perfectly with the limbic system, the brain's emotional core. The limbic system regulates attachment, reward, memory, and mood, and within it lies the dopamine network, the circuitry that produces pleasure and drives motivation. When dopamine is well balanced, you experience motivation and joy in alignment with reality. You feel a steady pulse of curiosity and creative desire. You can be aroused without being obsessed, inspired without feeling frantic. This is what a regulated D2 field looks like. Pleasure is integrated, desire is devotional, and connection is reciprocal. It's not about rejecting pleasure, it's about refining it. The aligned masculine is a man who is centered in his D2, doesn't fear beauty, nor does he chase it. He can witness a woman's radiance without needing to possess it, right? Because he already embodies the same life force within himself. His desire is rooted and it's not restless. His attraction is energetic recognition, not escapism. He feels deeply, yet his emotional body is disciplined, not by suppression, but by sovereignty. In such a man, sexual energy becomes creative force. His presence ignites rather than consumes. He doesn't seek validation because he is validation. He's a self contained field of coherence. And this is what a healthy D2 emotional body looks like: sensitivity without subservience, desire without codependency, and power without pretense. What dysregulation feels like and what it looks like is a lot of what we're seeing today with what we call the simp economy, right? When the D2 body is dysregulated, energy loses rhythm. So it swings between these crazy extremes, between overstimulation and emotional shutdown, between compulsive pleasure seeking and existential emptiness. This oscillation is not just psychological, it's electrical. The sacral field literally alternates between hyperchange and depletion, creating the same pattern seen in addiction cycles and these crazy trauma loops. This is the energetic template of modern society, the nervous system of the collective masculine in crisis. The modern pattern of overstimulation is kind of built on this principle and this ideal. It's scroll, scroll, swipe, repeat. Every click, every notification. Um, there's no embodiment behind it. There's no breath. There's no presence. There's no grounding. That dopamine isn't being integrated. It's just spiking and then crashing, spiking and then crashing, and it's been very, very profitable for companies like OnlyFans. No disrespect. The body interprets this crash as lack, and the mind mislabels that lack as loneliness, right? So it seeks it again and again until the man's nervous system is no longer self generating. It becomes dependent on that external voltage. This is the birth of the simp. Okay? The simp isn't simply submissive to women, he's also submissive to his own unregulated energy. He doesn't chase her, he chases the charge that she represents. When his emotional body can't produce its own coherence, he seeks others to regulate him through attention, approval, or rejection. That's why he keeps returning to the same things that drain him. He's not addicted to her, he's addicted to the temporary moment of aliveness that her energy is able to provide in that current moment. Okay, this is energetic inversion. In metaphysical terms, this is sacral inversion, right? So of instead instead of energy flowing upwards towards creation, it flows downwards into consumption, right? And instead of radiating love outwards, it demands love inward. Instead of creating reality, he reacts to it. And every time a man reacts instead of creates, he leaks in his energetic field. He loses the voltage, right? That's why we call it the electric masculine, the magnetic feminine, right? He loses the voltage that would have been used to build, to lead, and to protect. This is why the dysregulated masculine uh, feels tired. He's not lazy; he's just leaking. His D2 body has become a slave, and his nervous system is trying to operate on half a charge. Okay. In psychology, this looks like anxious attachment and codependency, impulsive behavior, or emotional volatility. In society, it looks like the simp economy, which is an entire generation of men outsourcing purpose, power, and pleasure to algorithms and idols. He doesn't know how to self soothe because no one taught him how to feel. He doesn't know how to self regulate because no one modeled containment. So he confuses intensity for intimacy and drama for depth. Every act of simping, whether through obsession or overgiving or Emotional self abandonment is an unconscious attempt to heal the D2 body by external means. But the paradox in that is that each attempt only deepens the wound because the more he chases the energy, the less he embodies it. So when this dysregulation becomes chronic, the the D2 field dims, emotion becomes performance, and then desire becomes an addiction, and creativity becomes consumption. In the collective aura of the modern world, this looks like overstimulated sensuality and underdeveloped spirituality. I cannot talk today. I do not know why. The obsession with appearances, pleasure, and power that never satisfies because it originates from emptiness. An energetic law the D2 field is meant to move, but always under the guidance of higher centers like the heart, D4, and the will, D3. When the sacral center loses that guidance, it becomes like an ocean without a shore, wild, aimless, and seeking containment from everything but itself. That's the real energetic portrait of the modern simp, is a man lost in the waves of his own emotional body, mistaking the storm for the sea. All right. Section 3, the parallel between simping and religious fanaticism. Pay attention to this. The psychology of externalization. At first glance, the devotee in the pew and the man begging for attention online could not seem to be more different. One cloaks himself in scripture, the other in desire. Yet both kneel before the same invisible altar, the altar of external power. The religious fanatic says, God is out there somewhere above me. I must earn his approval. The modern simp whispers a similar prayer, love is out there embodied in her. I must prove myself worthy. Different objects, same pattern. Both are fragments of the same wound, the exile of divinity from within. When a person is disconnected from their inner source, they begin to worship reflections instead of essence. They turn love into something to chase rather than something to emanate. They treat salvation, whether spiritual or romantic, as a transaction. This is the heart of scarcity consciousness. It tells you that wholeness is elsewhere and that you are incomplete until something outside of you confirms your worth. Energetically, this is what happens when the D2 body detaches from the first root and the fourth root, right? The emotional current loses its feedback loop, so you start to need others to feel like you exist. Not saying that we don't need to connect with other people and that we don't need loving relationships in our lives, because I think that we do. I think that's a very sacred part of the human experience. But to the extent that we codepend on these is where we get confused. In neuroscience, this is a dopamine driven attachment. The same circuits that line up when a believer feels touched by God are activated when a man receives attention from a woman he idolizes. Both experiences produce a temporary flood of reward chemicals that validate the illusion of connection, but because it's external, it fades very quickly. The crash feels like abandonment, and the nervous system spirals into anxiety and guilt craving. This cycle is seek, reward, withdrawal, seek again. This is the biological mirror of an energetic leakage. Each repetition deepens dependency. Both the zealot and the simp mistake the chemical spike of connection for genuine communion with the divine. The tragedy is not in their devotion. Devotion is sacred, but in where it's being directed. When devotion turns outward without inward anchoring, it becomes obsession. Obsession breeds fragility, and cannot talk. Fragility breeds control. Okay. So devotion without anchoring is obsession. Obsession breeds fragility. Fragility breeds control. This is why religious extremism and obsessive romance often carry the same shadow, the need to possess what one secretly believes will leave. It's energetic fragmentation. From an energetic perspective, every act of externalization fractures the auric field. The moment you say, I am not enough until your energy splits, a portion of your life force begins orbiting around the object of desire, be it a deity or a lover, or siphoning vitality from your center. And this is why both the zealot and the simp live in perpetual tension. Their God can abandon them at any moment because they have located the God outside of the body. The anxiety they feel is not faith, it's the nervous system trying to retrieve the power it gave away. True worship, true love, true devotion are internal at first. They radiate outward as an expression, not compensation. Until that reversal occurs, the human being remains caught in an energetic economy of euphoria and collapse. It's a pendulum swinging between hope and despair. All right. Spiritual consequences of this externalization is the collapse of polarity. Now, in the architecture of energy, the masculine principle is containment. It's containment, direction, discipline, and the sacred vessel through which consciousness flows. The feminine principle is movement, emotion, intuition, the living current itself, where both are balanced, life expresses itself as harmony, motion guided by meaning, feeling held by form. But when the masculine loses containment, when men can no longer hold their own emotional current, the feminine loses rest and energy begins to spiral rather than circulate, right? Love becomes labor. You see this everywhere in modern culture. Men who are emotionally overexposed, yet spiritually underdeveloped. This is why so many marriages and relationships these days just don't last for 5 minutes. Women who carry polarity for both genders, forced to be soft and, strong at once, nurturer and protector, relationships that oscillate between intensity and emptiness because neither partner can anchor the field. This is not a gender war, this is an energetic implosion. It's what happens when direction divorces flow. When the masculine abandons discipline for indulgence and the feminine abandons receptivity for defense. Okay. So when polarities collapse within individuals, it collapses in nations. Society whose men lack containment and whose women lack safety becomes a civilization that feeds on stimulation. Politics becomes theater, religion becomes branding, love becomes a transaction. Everything once sacred becomes content. And underneath all of that, the same spiritual pathology hums a humanity that has forgotten how to self regulate, praying to gods, government, and partners for the energy that it has always possessed. The antidote is not repression or rebellion, it's reintegration. The masculine must remember the discipline. Discipline is a devotion. That containment is compassion and structure. The feminine must remember that surrender is not submission, but trust in divine order when both are honored within a single being. The D2 body can harmonize and energy flows upwards instead of leaking outward. Only then can devotion return to its rightful place, not as worship of the external, but as recognition of the divine in all things. A man who finds God within no longer simps for love without. He becomes the temple through which love itself is expressed. Okay. So I'm going to talk a little bit here about the function of a balanced D2 body. The regulated D2 body is not a suppression of emotion, it's sanctification in a culture that glorifies reaction. And true power now really just looks like stillness because stillness has become rare. The man whose D2 is aligned does not run from his feelings, nor does he drown in them. He holds them like a riverbank holds water, allowing emotion to flow without losing form. In architecture of human energy, the sacral body is the furnace of creation. It converts life force into expression, and that same force that fuels sexuality, art, movement, and love. When this furnace is stable, it doesn't overheat with craving or freeze with fear. It radiates a quiet heat, aliveness without attachment. This is the foundation of emotional intelligence at the energetic level, to feel deeply without seeking rescue, to desire without desperation, and to love without losing sovereignty. A balanced D2 transforms energy rather than leaks it. Sexual energy transmuted becomes a creative force. The same current that seeks to merge with another now seeks to build and to inspire and to lead. Emotional energy refined becomes compassion, the ability to feel the world without absorbing its chaos. Desire elevated becomes devotion, love directed towards purpose, creation, and service. This is why true masculine power feels calm and not loud, because containment is the highest vibration of command. A man whose energy is aligned does not need to convince anyone of his worth. He radiates it. His body becomes the temple of coherence, and his presence reorganizes rooms without words. In him, discipline is no longer a punishment, it's love in motion. Every repetition, every boundary, every choice that aligns with purpose is a form of prayer. His attention becomes currency, and his silence becomes sermon. He no longer seeks to possess it, he magnetizes it. He no longer prays for power, he embodies it. Okay, this is the science of regulation. Emotional regulation originates in the dialogue between the prefrontal cortex and the limbic system. When this circulation is coherent, impulses are guided by awareness rather than reactivity. This is the neurological mirror of a balanced D2. In the spiritual anatomy, when the D2 field harmonizes with the D3 and the D4, it creates this current, and energy just rises upward. So you think about it like this, right? You've got your D1, and life force prana needs to go up and up and up. But when it hits a cap, right, when the D4 or D3 or D2 is dysregulated, it just kind of spirals outwards from there. Okay. First step into healing the simp economy is radical embodiment. You cannot heal what you cannot feel. Most men must return home to the body they've been taught to escape, and to re inhabit the space between stimulus and response. To feel is not weak, it is to become fluent in the language of God through the nervous system. The sacral field responds to attention every time a man breathes into his belly, sits with discomfort, or grounds his awareness in movement. Instead of distraction, he begins to rewire centuries of inherited suppression. Presence is rehabilitation, and stillness is strength. Every conscious breath is an act of rebellion against the world that profits from your dysregulation. Okay. So, the simp economy, men, you need to heal spiritual sovereignty, the right to commune with the divine without intermediaries. This means realizing that no church, no ideology, and no person can confer worth upon you. The divine masculine doesn't pray to source, he prays as source. That's a bar. The divine masculine does not pray to source, he prays as source. When a man's sacral field is balanced, he no longer worships women. He honors them as reflection of the same current that he carries. He no longer begs God for guidance. He listens to the still voice within him, the quiet frequency that never left. He no longer fears losing love, because he has become love in form. This is the resurrection of the masculine principle, not domination, but energetic integrity, not control, but coherence, not performance, but presence. A man in this state doesn't ask the world for energy, he brings energy into the world. He becomes the antidote to chaos, the stabilizing pole in a planet addicted to polarity. Okay. When enough men embody this level of regulation, culture begins to shift, and economies built on addiction will collapse. Relationships based on trauma transform into sacred unions, and society remembers balance. The revolution will not be televised. It will be somatic. It begins with a single nervous system that remembers how to feel without fleeing, how to desire without degrading, and how to love without losing itself. Because when the masculine reclaims his D2, when he re-embodies his emotional center with discipline, love, and devotion, he becomes not a consumer of light, but the conductor. And that, more than any ideology or movement, is what will heal this planet. Men who remember how to hold energy and therefore hold the world. Okay. So I'm gonna make a part 2 to this video. But if you like this, please like, subscribe, and if you want to join our tribe, the Soul Path Collective, please sign up in the link below and join our mailing list. We're still building the school right now, but the first 100 members, you'll get the first month completely free. And then after that, it's going to cost a little bit of money. Remember, guys, stay sovereign. And this is just a part 1 to the video. Stay tuned for part 2. Love, peace, harmony, bliss. Love y'all. Take care.